So in other cases, there are other factors to sort of look at about whether or not this stay is a transient stay. Um, those are things like whether the place holds itself out to be a hotel. Does it give its occupant the status of guest? Are they calling you a guest? Um, is there a guest register that you have to sign or fill out? Um, does the occupant or the guest themselves have permanent residency somewhere else? If you have permanent residency in perhaps another state and you're staying here in Columbia at a hotel, I think it could be very clear that you are just a guest. You are in a transient situation. It's also important to look at whether there's a lease, either written or oral, or what rights or duties it spells out. So it's very important to look at what you sign if the hotel has you sign anything, especially if you plan to stay there for an extended period of time. It's also important to look at whether the length of the stay is for an agreed upon or definite duration, how long that stay is going to be, what the purpose of that stay is. The longer and longer it gets, especially pushing towards that 90-day period, the more it might look like a month-to-month tenancy than it does just a transient stop-in kind of guest situation. And that's also important to look at what the rent is like. Are you paying on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or are you paying for the whole month? If you're paying for the whole month, that a court may say that looks a lot more like a residential landlord-tenant situation, especially if you're paying for multiple months at the same time. That doesn't really imply transiency. That would almost make it seem like you were staying there for an extended stay with a purpose to be there. It's also important to look at what services this establishment's providing you. Are they doing your laundry or doing the linen laundry? Are they doing the housekeeping? Are they providing the heat and electricity without an extra charge? Do they offer cooking or bathing facilities is very important. What sort of furnishings do they provide? A lot of your residential landlord-tenant accommodations, like a traditional apartment or a house, are usually, but not always, unfurnished, whereas hotels and motels are almost always furnished in many scenarios. It's also important to look at whether the proprietor's employees retain keys and access to that room. If you think about a traditional hotel scenario, if you know that the housekeeper or someone else on the staff has keys to their room or to your room, then that could imply a little bit more of a transient situation.